Hey there everybody, Don Evans here from WatchReport.com, and today we're going to be talking about the Hager Commando Professional series. This is their newest release, which has a blue ceramic bezel. Other versions come in a black ceramic bezel. This is the three-hand version that we are going to be concentrating on here in the video, but they also have GMT versions available, and Hager was kind enough to send along a bunch of their models of the variations for me to take a look at and talk about in the review. So check out the full review at WatchReport.com, and I have a lot of pictures of the GMT versions as well, and the other versions with the black ceramic bezel, and also the DLC coded models, and I'll give you more information about those. This newest version retails for $600 in the three-hand in the brushed and polished stainless steel. The DLC version goes for $650, but for the time being, I'm not sure how long it is going to last, but for a limited time, there's $50 off on all of the variations, so this model would actually be $550. Let's give the specs here real quick, and then I'll pick it up and give you a better look at it. You have a 42 millimeter case. It is about a 50 millimeter lug to lug, or length of the case, 13.5 millimeters in thickness with a 22 millimeter lug width. You have a domed sapphire crystal, a loomed ceramic bezel, and the movement is listed as a Hager movement. I believe they do some modifications to it, but the base is a Miyota 9015. Take it off this stand here. I use this stand sometimes for videos or for props. You can buy these on the internet. They're not that expensive, so if you're interested in those, you could always get those online. Take a good look here at the dial in the case. Let me wipe it off here, any dust that may be on it. Now, overall, I am going to list this as kind of a combination of homages, if you will. I would say it's similar to it's kind of like a vintage Rolex and Omega kind of cross. And if you follow micro brands at all, you'll see a very similar styling in terms of, say, the Raven vintage watches, Raven, which is a Benares brand. So there are definite similarities. There are differences between those two. But if you like the Raven style of watches, then this one would probably appeal to you as well. And I have not owned the particular Raven that is very close to this. I do know that the Raven has a acrylic crystal, and it does not have the ceramic loomed bezel either. So those are a few differences where this one might have some upgrades that might appeal to you. You know, I don't try and sway anybody one way or another. I'm just pointing out differences between this version and that watch, which are very similar at very similar price points. Another thing now, from speaking with the owner of Hager Watches, these are assembled in Hagerstown, Maryland, and now the reason I asked him that is because right on the dial here, if I can get a close-up shot, right on the dial there, you will see Hagerstown, Maryland. And so I asked him specifically about that. You know, I said, you know, if they're going, you know, you're going to have it say that on the dial, it should be assembled there. And he says, well, as a matter of fact, they are assembled here in Hagerstown, Maryland. And manufacturing takes place in, you know, various locations from what I am told. Again, that is from what I am told, and I am just reporting that, which is, you know, China, Japan, Switzerland, that there are different components made for them at various locations, and then shipped to Hagerstown, Maryland for assembly. So you have your broad sword style hands. You have applied markers. The dial is it's a very strange type of dial, and strange in a good way, I should say. I don't want to make that sound like there's anything wrong with the dial. Now, of course, the domed crystal will always reflect and bounce off light to a certain extent and give you a different look. But when I hold the dial like that, it looks like a gray, like a light charcoal gray, medium charcoal gray color. It is actually, as he said, listed as like a, it's actually like a grayish blue color. So it looks different. Of course, in some light, it's going to just look black. In other light, it looks gray. Of course, out in sunlight, you're going to get the look more of that bluish gray. So the case sides are all high polished. You have brushed on the top of the cases. That same flows through the bracelet. Very thick bracelet, about 4.5 millimeter thick links. And you have brushed, finished down the middle, and polished links on the edges and top. Your signed clasp. Now, speaking of the clasp, anybody who is familiar with the Omega PO, the Planet Ocean model, might have seen this clasp before. It is, I don't want to say it's exact, it could be, but it is very derivative of that clasp. So you have your push button here, okay, and it opens up, and you do have a diver's extension as well. Now, one thing I like about this clasp is where the edge of your dive clasp ends on the bracelet, it overlaps the one end link. And then, you know, after wearing it for a while, you start to see that it has actually scratched that end link. Well, because of this style of clasp, they have a cutout here, and the clasp actually goes into that link, so you're not going to get your link scratched. Now, the only thing that I will say that I'm not a huge fan of with this clasp is there are no place for micro adjustments here. So, and also, these links, while not the biggest links, are fairly large, and there are no half links. So it might be difficult for some to get that perfect fit. I have not weighed this watch yet, but I am going to, you know, it's a pretty substantial watch, so I'm going to go and say it's probably somewhere in the 210 gram range. Which, that's a significant weight, and you want the watch to fit you perfectly. Another thing to point out, and I'll show this on my wrist, I have not sized this one yet. You can see all the photos of the watch sized and on my wrist. The reason that I didn't size this one yet is because he had sent these after he had sent the other ones, and I wanted to concentrate, since this is the new model, I wanted to concentrate on this one for the review. But as again, you're going to see a lot more pictures. I'm going to go into detail about the GMT models and the other versions in the full review on watchreport.com, so please check that out. But another thing I wanted to comment on is this will easily fit up to like a 9.5 inch wrist. Very, 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 very large bracelet here. So enough links that it should fit an array of wrist sizes. You know, probably should fit down to, I think, about a 7-inch wrist, and then go up to at least a 9, if not 9.5. The bezel, as I said, is ceramic. It is loomed. I don't want to say that it's the greatest loomed bezel I've ever seen, but it's pretty good. But the loom on the bezel does not match up with the loom on the hands and markers. It's just slightly weaker. Give the bezel a turn here. Okay. Pull out the crown. Crown screws back down nice and easily, real no movement or wobble there, which is always a good sign. .42mm size, so it's not too large, it's not too small. Many people these days are liking, you know, more of the classic sized watches. I see a trend happening where the oversized, not that the oversized market still is not there, but I see a lot of brands shifting away from, you know, the 45, 46mm and up, and going back down to, you know, more of your 42, 43mm, and even 40mm sizes. And I'm seeing that a lot of guys are enjoying that as well. So if you like, you know, the vintage Rolex style look or vintage Omega style look, it has kind of a combination of both here. Yes, there is no doubt that it is a homage, but it is a very well made homage. Has a very nice dial. Like I said, it has applied markers, Miyota 9015 base movement, ceramic loomed bezel, domed sapphire crystal. Very solid link bracelet here, and as I said, a nice clasp and an ingenious one for the way it works in that sense of, and again, I know it's more or less a copy of an Omega clasp, but it's a very nice clasp. I just wish that either it had some micro adjustments to it or that half links were provided to get the better fit. Let me show you real quick, even though this is not sized, I will show this to you on my 7.5-inch wrist. Okay. There is a look on the wrist. Very nice in that 42mm size. So, check out the full review at watchreport.com, as I said, especially with this particular review because I was sent so many of the variations of the models. There'll be a lot more information, a lot more photos and detail in the full review. But as always, we like to show you a video here, try and give you the best look or real-world look at the watch itself. Leave a like or a comment here on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you already haven't. Check us out on social media. You know, we post a lot of various things on social media, including sneak peeks of our upcoming reviews. This has been a look at the Hager Professional Commando, and this has been Don Evans for WatchReport.com. Thank you for viewing, and we'll see you on the next video.